All right, the series is all even at 1-1, and it's going to Toronto now. The Albany Devils trying to keep their season alive, get some more games at the Times Union Center. We know that this is it when it is over. That is over in Albany. They're moving to Binghamton next year. What is the climate like? I was not here last week, but I guess the first game I was told they looked phenomenal. They were great, and then I don't know what happened in game 2. Everything came apart, and they were terrible. What's going to happen tonight in game 3? Josh Heller is the voice of the Albany Devils, and you hear the games right here on 104.5 A Team ESPN Radio. And Josh joins us on the road. Good morning, Josh. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Roger. How you guys doing?
We're good, man. How's the climate with this team right now? And talk about the first 2 games and how quite different they were.
Yeah, it was definitely a tale of 2 games, to be sure. I think everything kind of fell into place in game 1, and I don't want to say that the team, thought that game 2 would be easier than it was. But first of all, give credit where it's due. Toronto up their compete level, they up their game for sure. But that being said, it was kind of lackluster. It didn't have the same feel to it. And, you can really place blame anywhere you want. The forward groups were okay. The defense was kind of lax. The goaltending was not great. And, next thing you know, you're down 4-1. And, everything kind of, at that point, frustration started to boil over a little bit, and things got a little bit out of hand as the game went along. So, the thing about the playoffs, especially for good teams who make long runs, is you're going to have highs and you're going to have lows. They don't always come, in back-to-back games, but that's certainly going to be the case. I chatted with Carter Camper yesterday a little bit because he was on the Hershey team that made it to the finals last year, actually knocked out this Toronto team last season, and that was his message. That was the message to the team. It was a game. It happened. You learn from it. You move on. And hopefully it humbles you a little bit. And, there are going to be highs and lows, and it's all about how you respond to them. And if they can, if you can't respond to it, then, you don't deserve to be playing. But if you can, then you have a chance to do something special.
We're talking with Josh Heller, voice of the Albany Devils. Is there amongst the players the thought that, hey, if we don't get this done, we don't win this thing, this is it in Albany? Is there any play hard? Not they're going to play hard no matter what, but you know what I'm saying. Try to win to keep this thing alive, to get it back to the Times Union Center, because this is the final season of the Albany Devils.
I think, to be perfectly honest with you, that's a lot to handle for a lot of players. And a lot of these guys are young. It's their first year. We have a lot of rookies or second-year guys. And the thing about, professional athletes, they bounce around. They get paid to play wherever it is they play. So I don't necessarily think for the majority of players that's the case. I think some of the veterans, obviously Rod Kelly, the captain, has been around for a while. He has a family up here. I think for some people that's the case. But the problem with that is, if you start to think about it like that, you start to complicate things. You start to put a little bit too much on your shoulders. And I think, for any athlete, especially young athletes, you really can't get bogged down with that, because that almost puts too much pressure on you. You have to just take it one game at a time. And, obviously I think, if you were to ask him, everyone would like to bring it back to Albany for any number of reasons. The least of which is that it means they're still playing and that they're still alive. So I wouldn't necessarily say that it's, a sense of, we want to do this because this could be it. I think that if you start to, get bogged down in that, it can really, the gravitas of it can really get a lot. So you just try to simplify things, and it's, you hate to say it's just another game, but you kind of have to approach it that way.
Hey, Josh, we saw Mackenzie Blackwood get pulled in game 2. Who do you expect to be in goal tonight? He was obviously terrific in game 1.
Yeah, I frankly expect to see him here in game 3 starting. Obviously he has the talent and the skill. We saw that in game 1. Consistency is something that young players, especially young goaltenders, need to get, and it's something that he needs to get. So, you try to block that out. You try to have as short as memory as possible and get back out there. Clearly he knows that he's good enough to beat this team, but also knows that if he's not at his best, that it can come right around pretty quickly. So, he's had his ups and downs this season. but more often than not, as the season has gone along, he's gotten better and better. We actually haven't seen him with a performance like that in sometimes it's much earlier in the season. And again, he doesn't need to post a shutout for this team to win. He doesn't need to be quite as good as he was in Game 1. He just needs to give the team a chance, which, you know, it was a bit of a struggle last game. But, you know, again, if you can shake that off and think of today as a new day and a new game, then, you know, obviously he has the skill to be able to play against this Toronto team, and he knows that, and Toronto knows that.
We're tying with Josh Heller as we get set for Game 3 tonight in Toronto. What do you expect tonight? I mean, strategically speaking, they need to get back to what they did in Game 1, but what kind of game do you expect tonight here in Game 3?
You know, it'll be interesting to see, you know, what the home crowd does for Toronto. The Devils have played well in this building and played well in Toronto. They went 2-2 here this season. Obviously went 2-2 in the playoffs last year in this building. So, you know, road games can be a little tougher, but on the other hand, you know, especially in the playoffs, being on the road is not a bad thing. You know, the guys are all together. They're eating together. They're, you know, all in the hotel together. So maybe it can bring you together a little bit, but the team's going to need to get out to a strong start. And if they can do that and kind of put the pressure on Toronto, then they're in good shape. If they find themselves, you know, if there are a couple early quirky type goals, this, you know, it could be difficult to, you know, kind of a here we go again type of feel. So I think if the team can come out strong and, you know, set a good tone, set a good pace early and, you know, maybe pick up an early goal or two, then they should be in good shape. It doesn't seem that they're too daunted by this building or by this team. And again, they've won in this building. They've won against this team before. So it's something that certainly if they can get out to the right start and get in the good mindset, then I think they'll be in good shape.
Josh, always a pleasure, man. Keep up the great work. Have a great call tonight. And thanks for a few minutes on Big Board Sports.
Oh, my pleasure, gentlemen. Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank
Josh.
you, Josh. Play-by-play voice, Albany Devils.